Turn off my debit card. And this. Margo, what's my checking account routing number? And that's just the beginning.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're having a little background. If anybody has there's a radio or a TV on. Somebody right now. I know we're live and we got a lot of people weighing in right now, but anybody who is a panelist, please mute until you're talking. Hello, everybody. It's 5:31 right now. My name is James Gore, Sonoma County Supervisor representing District 4. Want to first thank my colleague, Supervisor Lynda Hopkins and her team, and also the members of my team, but for collaborating together. But Lynda, I really want to thank you, and your team really did the heavy lifting on setting this up and communicating out. But the big thing here for everybody is that whether you live on Westside Road or you're over in the Wohler area, the entire region, I want to start by just acknowledging that Lynda and I and our teams have really worked hard with Johannes Hoevertsz out of our Sonoma Public Infrastructure, and also our fire community, our emergency manager. We have Jeff Duvall here. Chris Grable and Che Casal from our district offices. We just really want to, first of all, thank you for your patience and honor your frustration. It sucks when things happen like this, where we've dealt with so many fires, floods, pandemic, then more fires, then more floods, drought before that. But it's just so impactful to your lives. We've heard from so many individuals who have businesses impacted, but also your personal lives and worried about your safety out in the area. And I really want to thank Supervisor Hopkins for the partnership, because both of us, our districts, District 4 and 5, there's also been some redistricting a little bit. So some of you that might have been in my district are now in Lynda's district as of like the last couple of years. But the reality is that we're here in partnership, and we're here as one county family to try and do the right thing and get it done the most expeditiously, and not to just decrease impact on your lives, but also to increase safety, to get things done right, and to be able to deliver. So I'm going to pass it over in a minute to Supervisor Hopkins. I also just want folks to know that I'm kind of co-managing two different community things right now. So Lynda's going to take lead. We also have Chris Grable from my team, so I'm going to listen in and kind of and then come back in a little bit. But I just want you all to know that the experts are here. I want to thank Lynda more than anything for the work that she and I really have partnered with, and another of our board members, to get $5.5 million in rapid fire out of the county, even though we have budget issues, to go towards 5 different of these rain damaged roads. So in as much as Wohler and Westside, we also have West Soda Rock, we have Cavedale, and then some. I think Lynda, the last one, I believe it's an Italian name. It's in your district. It's Giovanotti, or I can't remember exactly. But the key here is to give you the best information available, but also to get your input, so that once we contract for all of these different roads before the Board of Supervisors and begin the emergency work, is that we also have an idea with you all about what we do to best manage disruption. No matter what, there will be disruptions. There's a disruption now, and so once we end up going and doing construction, there will be another disruption. But we're really talking with community to try and figure out if we go in with full force and just go after things and try and make it as quick as possible, but it's a large disruption, or if we try to elongate it out and have passage during the days. And so a lot of that's going to be working with you and with the engineers through the art of the possible. And but the goal is to minimize impact, but also get the repairs done that need to get done. So Lynda, I'm passing it over to you. I'm going to be on for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to step out to another community thing and then come right back. But once again, Chris from my office and all the others are here as well. So Supervisor Hopkins, thank you for your leadership as the chair of our board and bringing this funding item forward. Proud to serve alongside you.
Thank you so much, James. And actually, he took the words right out of my mouth, which were, "This sucks." And it is not just a minor inconvenience. I completely understand the evacuation concerns, the safety concerns, and I want to acknowledge that is why we are joined by Chief Jason Boaz and Division Chief Cindy Foreman. So that's Healdsburg and Sonoma County Fire District, respectively. And I believe that they are also coordinating. They can tell you a little bit about that in terms of making sure that we have coverage given the closures. We are also joined by Jeff Duvall from the Department of Emergency Management. And so want to make sure, because we've heard a lot of public safety concerns, that we have that addressed and that we're able to answer your questions. In terms of meeting format, so first it's going to be, James kicked it off. I'm going to say a couple, hopefully keep this short, hand it over to Johannes for an update for where we are in the process, and then hand it over to, Chief Boaz, Division Chief Foreman, and Jeff Duvall if there's anything that they would like to add. What I would like to then do is to go to questions from our participants and from the folks who are attending this meeting. And so please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We want to get through as many questions as we possibly can. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll hold a little bit of time to be able to unmute folks so that you can actually make public comment if there's anything that we haven't addressed that you want us to hear, or any questions that you weren't answered. But we felt like we want to keep that at the end so that we get through as much information as we possibly can in the next hour. I just want to say also thank you to Che Kazul from my office, who was literally on site at the slide within 20 minutes of it being reported, and has just been doggedly pursuing solutions ever since. And I think that either Che or I talk to Johannes at least once a day about this and sort of getting the up to the minute information. And we recognize that it's a public safety concern, a huge economic impact on already very, very stressed local businesses, given the state of the agricultural industry. And really want to make sure that we are moving forward as quickly as we possibly can. And we recognize that it's a dual closure. And in addition to the dual closure, we also have an undercutting of Wohler Road that we are keeping a very close eye on. So unfortunately, we've had this real cluster of incidents in this area. And we continue to monitor that other section, which is not at a closure yet, but which we are aware had active erosion over the course of the winter. So we did approve the funding last month. That's the good news at the Board of Supervisors. And I believe that Johannes was on the phone with contractors that day. As soon as we made that vote, he was reaching out to try to get someone on board, and he has been rapidly working on engineering and problem solving to try to get this across the finish line as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Johannes. We look forward to answering your questions. So again, please feel free to put those questions in the chat, and then I will try to get those questions, gather them, and then ask them of the appropriate person who has the most information to answer them. And then at the end of the meeting, we will take public comment from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Johannes, if you could give us an update on where we are.
Thank you, Supervisor Gore and Supervisor Hopkins, and to the community and everyone else on the panel. My name is Johannes, and I'm the Director of Public Infrastructure. And we are very aware and sympathetic to the impacts that the failure of the roads to happen during this 2024-25 winter event. The 2024-2025 event was, in a sense, surgical, and the damage that we experienced in our roads, where it damaged critical evacuation routes, access routes, and one-way roads to neighborhoods. So I'll start with the update on Wohler Road. The Wohler Road project, we have been working over 15 years on the project, working with Caltrans, debating whether we were going to do a bridge replacement, a bridge rehabilitation, or a bridge retrofit. We settled on a bridge retrofit. We secured the funding. It's a $17 million fund. And we have started working on the road the year before. This year, we were going to work on the deck and some of the abutments as well, and the piers. We started working on April 1st. It was a tough decision because on February 4th, we lost Westside Road. But we identified a detour, inconvenient but feasible, so we didn't have to kill the project. The reason we didn't want to kill the project is because we don't want to jeopardize any of the federal funding, and this is a one-time opportunity to replace the bridge. We started working on the bridge. We are doing very, very, very aggressively trying to get the schedule done within maybe 3-4 months. However, after starting working on the bridge, we have found more damage on the deck that we had anticipated. There is some seismic damage on the bridge. There is some impact damage on the top courts of the bridge, and there is damage due to rust that have caused us to have to go and have to redesign the work that we're going to be doing on the deck. What that would cause is for us to potentially be able to open the bridge sometime in June. I think that it's probably all I have on that on the Wohler Road Bridge. June. The plan is to maybe open the bridge sometime in June. Now I'll go to Westside Road. Westside Road, we met this week with a contractor. We are negotiating. We're trying to find local sources of material for both the piles and the lagging for the wall. The biggest obstacles that we have on that project now is a demo permit from PRMD, and we're working really close with them because we need to demo the garage on site, and then we need to underground the lines, the power lines, so we can drive the piles for the wall. Construction is expected to last 2 months. So we are probably going to start working on May 15th on Westside Road. So that means by July 15th, we should have the road open, Westside Road. But we would have probably Wohler Road open in June 15th or so. That's what we're shooting for. Let me see if I have anything else on those. Then we'll start working the Cavedale. For those that are concerned about Cavedale, we're going to start advertising on Monday for Cavedale both sides, and for what's the other road? Westside Road, Cavedale, West Soda Rock Lane. We're going to start advertising the week after the 5th. Next week we are staggering those projects. So just to summarize, Wohler Road, we are going to continue to work on the foundation. We are going to work until about June 15th on the superstructure, and we're probably going to be opening the bridge again because we have to redesign the deck. And Westside Road, we'll probably start construction on May 15th and work for 2 months and open that road. There's another job that's going to start in July, and that's Sweetwater Springs Road, that we're going to have to close the road. Those are all FEMA projects. Our intent is to try to deliver all the FEMA projects that we have on the books, which is over 40 million, because we don't want to lose that FEMA funding that is being withdrawn from some agencies. So we're trying to burn all that funding and deliver the projects as soon as possible. We have worked from the beginning with fire, emergency services, letting them know, and they have been awesome planning for all the closures and all the challenges that we're throwing out to them. And we're happy to be part of this, and we understand the impacts, and we're trying to mitigate and minimize them as soon as we can to get the roads open again. Thank you, Supervisor Hopkins. Those are the two big updates.
Thank you so much. I don't know if Chief Boaz, if you want to jump in and share any public safety updates, and then maybe Division Chief Foreman, and then Jeff Duvall.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Good evening, everyone. Jason Boaz, I'm the fire chief for the city of Healdsburg. And Chief Foreman is with us from Sonoma County Fire District. The area in question actually covers 2 fire districts. A lot of it is in Sonoma County Fire District. So Chief Foreman, if you want to go first, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I can speak to it, then you can jump in on anything I missed. A small portion of this is in Northern Sonoma County Fire. The city of Healdsburg is a primary responder there under contract with Northern Sonoma County Fire Protection District. And normally we respond out to about Sweetwater Springs Road and some of Sweetwater Springs Road. Everything to the south of that is in Sonoma County Fire District. And the response would typically be from them, from the other side, from Forceville. So what we've done, and Chief Turberville played a big role in this, as well as Chief Bush, is we prepared some maps of exactly where the closures are and what addresses they affect. And we've developed a response plan that addresses that. So what it is typically the city of Healdsburg now is going to recover all the calls in that area that can't be accessed from the Sonoma County Fire District side. So we'll be responding all the way out Westside Road to the slide and all the way up to Wohler Bridge. And we'll be covered back by Sonoma County Fire District and Northern Sonoma County Fire, who can also come in behind us and respond to that. They'll have to go around. So the idea is for us to extend our response area out a little bit further and cover those areas that are affected by the closures. That's not to say you won't also get a response from the other agencies involved, but we'll probably be the first ones there. In addition, because of the travel time and the distance, we've also set up an auto launch for a helicopter for certain call types out there. So if it's a severe call, an extrication, or maybe a heart attack, we'll auto launch a helicopter on the initial dispatch. And we have a pre-designated landing zone where we can land them and they can rendezvous with EMS units and transport somebody out that way to shorten the travel time. So all of our maps that were prepared by Chief Tuberville and Sonoma County Fire District, they've been transmitted to all of our responders and all of the agencies involved, and as well as it's put in our tablet command system on our tablets and our engines. So we're very aware of it, and we've adjusted our response temporarily until these closures are open. That's kind of how we coordinated the response so far. And if I missed anything, Chief Foreman, please fill it in. A lot of it is in your district. So
thanks, Chief. Just to sort of tag on and give a little bit more depth to what Chief Boaz was saying. Redcom is our dispatch center, and we have them, our CAD system, which is our dispatch system that gives us all the information we need when responding. That's been very robustly updated to reflect all of these closures. And as he said, we will be launching the helicopter on, calls that have a high intensity or a high propensity for life safety. And so we talk about, a lot of times we're just talking about evacuations, but this obviously affects if there's a fire or an EMS call. So we're looking at it through all those lenses. I want to assure the public that we collectively, and when I say we, I mean Supervisor Hopkins' office, Johannes, our folks at DEM, and all of our neighboring agencies, we've all gotten to the table really quickly on this and collaborated on how to best sort of navigate this challenge. And so none of us are doing this in a vacuum. This has all been very collaborative between all of us, so that we're not missing anybody or missing any issue. And I think we all have such emergency fatigue in this county right now, particularly coming off the heels with our West County of, 3 years almost of just, flood issues. So we recognize how fatigued you are, and we are doing everything we can to put every piece in place to ensure that we can get to you when we need to, and you can get to us when you need to. It's not perfect, but we think we've sort of got some good stopgaps to take care of that. And, if you've got an engine responding from Healdsburg, you're also going to have an engine responding from Sonoma County Fire District side, whoever gets there first, and so we just want to give you that peace of mind that we are as concerned about this as you are, and we are working collaboratively. We've got some better dates now. That feels a little bit better, takes some of that pressure off. And, we're really grateful to our public infrastructure team for recognizing that challenge and being able to pivot and support all of us. So thank you very much.
and if I can add on to what Chief Foreman talked about with respect to Redcom, that is all built into the CAD system already. And we have had a couple incidents out there, and it is working. It is recommending the right units for that. Sorry, I kind of skipped over Jeff Duvall because I know another one who concerns is evacuation and, larger emergencies. So maybe Jeff could speak to that for a minute, unless there's anything you feel we didn't cover. Supervisor Hopkins.
Yeah, Jeff, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, thanks, Supervisor. Thanks, Chiefs. Jeff Duvall, Director for the Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management. This is something that my department has been looking at since the slide occurred, knowing that there was going to be some time of public infrastructure coming up with the plans and how do we go about fixing this, knowing that summer and late spring are already here. and the concerns over fire and evacuations. One of the ideas that have come up within the Department of Emergency Management that we'll do for the evacuation zone, Sonoma 1 Gulf 2, which is that area off of Westside Road. During red flag conditions, during wind events, we will launch a SOCO alert. So that is the opt-in system of the SOCO system that will go send you a text message, send you an email, and also give you a voice recording saying, hey, hey zone 1 Gulf 2, be advised, red flag condition coming up. Have your evacuation bags, have your evacuation plan ready, and stay tuned and stay alert. That way we're pushing that information out to that zone of that heightened awareness, similar to what we did back in 2019 with the power shutoff events throughout the county, of just that heads up coming out there. So that's one idea that we've had. We have had conversations with the sheriff's office of what evacuations look like. Evacuations, large-scale evacuations, fall under the jurisdiction of the local law enforcement, and that is with the sheriff. Just like Chief Foreman said, nothing is done in a vacuum. We've all had these conversations of all the public safety partners of the what ifs and what this looks like. Our duty officer program, we have an emergency services coordinator that is on call 24/7, that is monitoring different events, different calls that go out through the tablet command of fire and EMS calls. If there is a call that comes out in that particular area of a vegetation response while these roads and the bridge are still under construction, that will, the duty officer will go into a heightened sense of monitoring that situation outside of what we normally do. So they're going to be tying in with Redcom dispatch or CAL FIRE dispatch in St. Helena, getting those live updates of what the conditions are out there, making notifications to myself and my deputy director, and we'll also be having conversations with the incident commander out at the scene, or what we call our operational area fire coordinator. So we're still formulating that, still formulating what the messaging will be for those red flag events for the 1 Gulf 2. And once we have that, we can definitely get that to Supervisor Hopkins and to Supervisor Gore to get pushed out to the community of what these will look like, and also put them out on our social media channels.
Great. I also want to acknowledge that I believe that we have representatives from Congressman Huffman's office and also Senator McGuire's office here. So they are at least listening to the questions and the feedback from the community tonight. Thank you so much for the outline about public safety, and really appreciate the coordination between Healdsburg Fire and Sonoma County Fire District to ensure that folks' needs are met. So I'll go ahead and launch into questions. Let's see, I have one person who has a bunch of questions, so maybe I'll take the first person and that of their 5 questions, and then go to the next and then circle back. So first question is, can you share with us the risk analysis you performed when the Hacienda slide closed an essential route out for residents? We are specifically interested in how you quantified changes in response times along Westside Road for emergency services. Which agencies will be responding to us now that dual closures eliminate Forestville, and how long will that take? I think that we, covered some of the subject about how response will be happening, but would love to hear any additional information from our fire district partners.
Chief Boaz, I don't know if you have access. We did do in some of our mapping that we provided for some of our crews, we did show response times from either side. Chief, do you happen to have those in front of you? Because I don't.
I don't, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We do have that information in our mapping that's on our mobile data computers for, our crews to see. I don't have that right in front of me, but I'm happy if we can get an email. I'm happy to respond back and get that information directly to who's ever asking.
Great. And, we did actually have an email that we received in advance that had some of these questions. So maybe we can, and the person here is an anonymous attendee, so I don't want to share their identity, but perhaps we can respond to that person with that information and they can share it amongst the neighbors. And if we don't get through all of their questions, we can also do that. We have a question from Sarah. What measures is the sheriff's office taking to patrol the orphan stretch of Westside Road? That is an excellent question. And unfortunately, the sheriff's office was not able to attend the meeting this evening. But what I can promise is that we can follow up with their communications team, get the answer to your question, and then maybe send it out to that same email address that we have that we can follow up on. The next question is from Jim is, if Wohler Bridge is able to be opened on June 15th, when should we expect the bridge to close again for the road bed repair? So I'll hand that over to Johannes.
Thank you, Supervisor. Excellent question. We are estimating that it would be open June 15th, and there is a possibility that we will not be able to work on the bridge until next year. So it may be open for the rest of the year. It all depends on how quickly the structural engineers and Caltrans can agree on the fixes and fund the fixes as well. I think this is going to be an additional maybe $5 to $6 million. So all that has to be worked out before we can close the bridge. One good thing about closing the road so early in April is that we can make this decision now rather than tearing up the deck and then having to do all this. So we did some borings, we found out the damage, so we're not tearing up the deck. So there's a possibility we will not close the bridge anymore this year.
I think there are probably a lot of people that we can't see on the screen right now smiling over that news. So I think that is, good news. And obviously that gives us plenty of time to complete the repair of Westside Road, although we are really hoping to expedite that and get that done as quickly as we possibly can, so that we have that detour route open. Next question from Trini is, if the bridge deck opens June 15th, that is good news. Oh, this is also, sorry, for how long would it be open? We just answered that. Talk more about what the bridge redesign means for longer term access. Question, will it be closed later? When will it close again, and for how long? In the future, how can you engage the community on when is the best time of the year for bridge closure, and how you can sequence closure for one lane at a time, for example, to maintain access? And on that last piece, and Johannes, you can jump in. My understanding is that we don't really get to choose the time of year because it is weather and flow dependent. And so unfortunately, we can't sort of time it for convenience. We have to do it for when the work can be performed. And also with respect to permitting processes, but maybe you can provide a little more clarity and you can talk about, so if it's closed, when will it be reopened? I mean, sorry, if it reopens, when it closes again, how long will that likely be for?
Thank you, Supervisor. You are correct. Your statements are correct when it comes to the substructure, which is everything below the deck and in the river. So we don't get to choose those times. We can work from June to October on the substructure. The superstructure, we have a lot more flexibility, and that is the deck and the cords. We think that the fix is going to take more than 6 months. So when we're ready to close the bridge again, I suspect that we're going to be able to work with the community to pick a framework on days or months perhaps that we can close it. But we will need to close it because we have to tear up the entire deck, replace some of the beams, and then replace the deck as well.
Okay, so we're looking at roughly, so reopen, and then at some future point, which is sort of to be determined because we are going to need to get additional funding for the additional sort of work, at roughly 6 months.
Six months, and it would probably take 3 months to finish the work in the superstructure.
Okay. Anne had a very similar question, so I think that her question was already answered. She had asked, will the bridge be open thereafter, or will the bridge be closed for another period of time after June? And the answer is that yes, it will be closed again after that.
Probably next year.
Yep. Another question, but it will be a while. We'll have at least a break from the closures. Yep. Asking for a neighbor, really, is there a way to make the bridge passable if a fire starts to threaten Westside Road?
Not if we remove the deck. That's why we haven't removed the deck. So yeah, that's the answer to that. And Supervisor, when we close the bridge again, we will have Westside Road open and we will have Sweetwater Springs open. So it would only be the bridge closed at that time.
Yep. And then let's see, it would be helpful for the businesses along Westside Road to have a road sign, wineries open. That's great feedback. Is that something that we could get going for the next couple of months? And I don't know if maybe we could work with constituents if they have something that's available that we could actually just install in the county right of way, or allow them to place in the county right of way without going through Permit Sonoma for a sign permit.
So I'm gonna bless wineries open sign anywhere within the road right away.
Okay, great. So please reach out to us. We would love to help
Mhm.
support that
Mhm.
and see what we can do to try to keep businesses open.
And
From
Supervisor, if I don't know, unless I missed it, I don't think there was something in there about signage that says no access to River Road. I don't know if you talked about that already, but I kind of concur with that over here on the Hillsburg side. I think that would be a really good idea because it is a long drive to find out that you get to a dead end, and it will help ease traffic around here if people aren't making that drive unnecessarily. So if there's a way we can facilitate that, I would be super supportive of that.
Yeah, so
Just to chime in
Supervisor,
on and follow up on that, Jason, I I agree. And then not only did we do it in a vehicle, but also for a bicycle, for instance, it's even more so in the summer months when you're just carrying one bottle of water or something, that's a long ways to go in the heat to find out you got to turn around.
Yeah, and I'll defer to the experts, but I would think a good place to put that, if you could, would be kind of at the intersection of West Dry Creek Road.
yeah, so Jason, I got those questions yesterday. So we submitted that to our construction team. So they're gonna be implementing that. We also have access to Waze and Google Maps. So we have closed those routes on Google Maps and Waze. So if you're using a GPS, it will not route you through those roads because it knows that the road is closed. But if we don't use GPS and you're a local, then you will drive to them. So we are going to implement that request. Thank you.
Thanks.
appreciate that about the signage. I do think that's a really good point, making sure that folks know what they're getting into before they hit the end of the road and realize that they can't go further. From Jim, it is my understanding that Sonoma Water may need to inflate the rubber dam if water demand is high enough. What is the plan to deal with this issue when attempting to reinforce the footing on number 2?
So I'm not sure, Supervisor, how Sonoma Water is going to do that, but we are coordinating with Sonoma Water and all the closures and all the time. I mean, there are neighbors here, so if they need access, we will provide access through our contractor.
Okay. Will that impact potentially the sort of work that's being done on the substructure?
I don't think so. I don't think they are going to need to be there I don't think it will.
Okay.
No, but if we have to work with them, we work with them. The road will be open, and we have roads. In my update tomorrow, I'm going to put some pictures of the roads that we have to the piles. So I think there's no problem there.
Great. There was a suggestion from George. Can you combine the 2 signs indicating one dead end road and wineries open? And I think that's a great idea. Maybe we could get a joint sign at the beginning and then also have maybe additional signage about the wineries being open along the road, just as a friendly reminder. Also, Gabriel noted, don't forget Apple Maps. We always have the challenges with our mapping partners, and Johannes, I know you've been fighting that battle. Any feedback on how you've been battling with Google Maps and Apple Maps and everyone else?
Yeah, so Waze and Google Maps are real easy. Apple Maps is random in the way they take the information, but we've checked and it works too with Apple Maps.
Great. All right, going back to the long list of questions. Let's see, when will you restore the crucial exit route removed by the Hacienda slide? Is there any way to accelerate that timeline with additional shifts? We are seeking a sense of imperative as the fire season approaches. Anything to add about that, Johannes? I feel like you covered the timeline a bit before.
Yeah, the plan is to have Westside Road start construction on May 15. The biggest obstacle that we have really is PG&E, and we need to underground those lines so we can start accessing the site and drilling the piles. So other than that, the contractor is going to be there building an access road and started drilling the lower piles. We expect to get it done within 2 months. And mind you, this disaster happened in February 4th. We are 3 months from the disaster, and we have a full crew, full plans and specs, and we're getting ready to go to construction, which is unprecedented, something we haven't seen before. And it's thank you, Supervisor, to your advocacy, and Supervisor Gore, and going to the board and getting that funding, which is critical for this.
Yeah, and I also want to really appreciate Johannes. We overcame quite a bit of, I would say, bureaucratic red tape to get this done. And I want to say thank you to James and Che and Johannes. We were all battling. I mean, folks didn't even in sort of, I'll just be honest, in county land, right? Attorneys are always extraordinarily cautious. And they did not believe that this dual closure actually met the criteria for an emergency. If we are in an emergency situation where there is a threat, just a threat to, public safety, property, even economic threat, you can actually move more quickly and sole source a contract, which is what Johannes did in his authority as the roads commissioner. Because, but at first we were being told this is an emergency, and I'm like, are you kidding me? People are going to be having to drive an hour around, and and in terms of, obviously, our fire districts have done an amazing job, covering as much as they can and really trying to make the best of things. But we all know that we are not in an ideal situation, and we all know that fire season is right around the corner. And so the fact that we were able to get a contractor on board immediately, get those plans done, public infrastructure has been working very hard and pushing back against some bureaucratic forces that did not want to make this go forward. So huge shout out to Johannes, and I appreciate the work that Che and James have put into this as well. Let's see, number 4, is there any timing delay anticipated in the Wohler project, given what you are finding structurally on the bridge? I believe that we covered that. You explained the sort of updates about the structure. And then number 5 is, this is far less significant than our grave safety concerns, but the signage out of Healdsburg is confusing. It sends people to do dead ends and calls it a detour. Drivers are not happy that they have to drive 12 miles back into Healdsburg. The most egregious omission is not including a no access to River Road on Westside at the turnoff from the Healdsburg traffic circle. We agree with you. We discussed that, and we will be moving forward to try to get some signage about that, and also wineries open signage. So if any of the wineries that are impacted want to send us an email about how we can collaborate on signage, if you have any signs that you would like us to put up, along the roadside, that would probably be faster than us trying to print a government sign to that effect. But I think that we can work on getting a no access to River Road sign up. So scrolling down, let's see, there needs to be signage at Sweetwater Springs Road advising that there is no exit when heading south on Westside. We had a cyclist trying to get back to Guerneville and was unaware of the closure. That's from Jim, and I really appreciate that. Johannes, can we address signage at Sweetwater Springs?
Yes.
Great.
Which, Supervisor, that we know that Sweetwater Springs Road, and just to give an update to Jason and Cindy, we are going to start working on the FEMA project, the FEMA failure from 2019, and that's the project that's going to start July, mid-July this year. We want to open Westside Road before we start that job. And then later on in August, we're going to replace the bridge that we have at Bailey now. So we are doing a lot of work, and it's causing a lot of inconvenience, but after this year, hopefully we'll be done with all this infrastructure and closure of roads for a while. We still have some FEMA projects, but this is probably the worst that we're gonna have in a while. Fingers crossed, let's just say.
Yes. And thank you, Johannes, for coordinating the Sweetwater Springs closure with the Westside Road reopener, because Che and I both had a heart attack when we got that notification saying we're going to close Sweetwater Springs when we're looking at a dual closure. And so that was before, we had more information. And so you heard it here. We are not going to be closing all 3 of those things at the same time, because that's we're already in enough of a nightmare. So let's see, any other questions? Let's see, I don't see any other questions in the chat. So if anyone would like to just make a comment, share any feedback with us, we can start that at this point in time. We thought it would be fair to maybe give everyone a couple minutes if that works. So if you would like to just speak, if you have any questions that you didn't get to type out, or you just want to share some of, what you're experiencing, we are here to listen, and you can just raise your hand and then we will unmute you.
Supervisor Hopkins, I want to share that with the updates are extreme engagement updates with pictures, updates, fully transparent. If you're not on that list, if you can email us, we put you on the list and you'll be up to date on the projects. Tomorrow, there's going to be another update that has more information, and we're committed to doing that until after we finish the projects.
And also, I'd just like to reassure everybody, as an incident commander responding out there, we're not forgetting about you out there. And when we're responding, especially if it's a fire, we're thinking about evacuations. And our goal is always early evacuations. And we'll be coordinating, of course, with Jeff Duvall and DEM, who is pretty good about sending those alerts out now. So we're gonna do everything we can to be as efficient as we can as far as getting information out for evacuations if we need to as quickly as possible. And also, I might mention, and maybe Chief Foreman can fill it in, we do have Sonoma County Fire District's helicopters, Sonoma County 1, and I believe they're launching on vegetation fires as well. So they're right at Sonoma County Airport. They'll be overhead quickly, and that's a great way to get additional information for incoming responders as to where the fire is, what it might be impacting, and what routes we might use for evacuation. And that's all information that we can quickly relay through dispatch or directly to DEM, and they can push out to the public.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chief. The resource of having Sonoma County 1 not only as a fire resource or a medical resource for us, but also as a reconnaissance resource for us as well. So yeah, thank you for that.
Supervisor, we have one hand raised. Jamie, I'm going to allow you to talk, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the panel. Today's chat or conversation really showed how well you guys all really put a lot of effort to think about the community. So just want to say a thank you to all of you. I do have a question. Between June 15th and when the project gets going back again, how safe is the bridge?
It's safe. That bridge is posted, so there's weight limits. So as long as you're within those limits, I think we are okay. The bridge is sound, it's just damaged. And there's been earthquakes. The bridge has flooded. It's been hit by trucks. The cords on the top have been hit pretty good. Some of the members are bent, but it's still there and it's sound. There should be no problem opening that bridge. But we're gonna get it ready for another 100 years when we get done.
That's good. Thank you.
All right,
Anything
we
else,
have
Jamie, that you wanted to ask or share?
moving on. George, you have 2 minutes.
George, you're still muted. So if you're
There we go.
trying to talk, there we go. Perfect.
Got it. George Davis, Porter Creek Vineyards. The last time the bridge was painted was 1939. And we really welcome this work on it, the maintenance and renewal of it. It adds so much to the character of the neighborhood. If you'll notice on the USGS maps, there's a section called Westside Road across the river in Forestville. That's where the bridge, before the bridge was put up, there was a fording place where people used to cross the river in the summer. Just a historical note. And another historical thing is I was down at the slide yesterday, and I noticed that there was a previous slide a few hundred feet north of there that had some extensive repair work. And so it is a kind of a unstable area, and it's quite a project. I really appreciate the work that's going into this. So it's been so timely, and it's much needed. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
George.
much for the history. I really appreciate that. And actually, I will confess that some folks said, hey, could we put a Bailey Bridge over the lower part? And so I called Johannes, and Johannes was like, no, we cannot do that. That is not a thing. We cannot engineer that. So since we don't have covered wagons and horses to ford that crossing, we are stuck waiting. But thank you so much for that additional information. Really appreciate it.
Supervisor, if I can add something to George, we have installed 2 inclinometers on site, and they have shown no movement of that area, which was really instrumental to help the 2 neighbors above the slide for PRMD to remove the red tag. So the site is not moving, is sound. We're helping the neighbors, and hopefully we will build a stout wall there that we don't have to worry about any movement for a long time.
That's wonderful.
That was actually a
Supervisor
great
Hopkins.
email from I think, was it Tennis, who said it was an Easter miracle that we got the red tags removed thanks to on Easter, sort of the inclinometers. And I will say that this is classic government. They couldn't say that it was stable, but they could say that it was, quote, not unstable. And so therefore the red tags could be removed. And so we are monitoring it very closely. And George, as you mentioned, unfortunately, we have so many steep and active slopes. And I mean, we're talking about the funding for the Eagles, nest sort of slide. We have slides all over the place in that part of West County. And so we're always working on them. Chris, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just while I have everybody here, I wanted to pass along some questions that we get from our constituents on this quite frequently, which is, to the fire chiefs and to Johannes and Jeff from emergency management. If residents in this area find an obstruction to the road, a fallen tree, since it is now a one-way in, one-way out situation, if there is an emergency obstruction at night, what's not, could you just tell folks what the best way, the best phone numbers to call, the best way to handle that if they do find something before we do?
I mean, I'm going to jump in. I would say right now with what we're up against with the road closures and things like that, that's a 911 call for me, right? You agree, Chief?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a 911 call, and most likely we'll be the responding agency, and we go out and clear trees all the time. If there's power lines involved, we get PG&E involved, but yeah, that's a 911 call, especially in the current situation.
Chris, for us, when you dial 911, it gets to Redcom, fire will get it, we'll get it. And if you want to call our office, so the number is 707-565-5100 during work hours. And work hours are between 7 and 5 p.m.
And just to let you know, we cut up the small trees, they come out and cut up the big trees.
Yeah.
I am not seeing any other raised hands. Che, do you see any?
I see no hands raised. I think.
All right. Well, with that, thank you so much, Johannes, Jeff, Cindy, Jason. Really appreciate having our public safety, folks on board. And Che and Chris, I know that you are out there talking to the constituents every day and always, fighting to try to make sure that things are going as fast as they possibly can. And so I'm lucky to be part of a team of folks who I think we're all rowing in the same direction and trying to minimize this huge, giant headache. And really try to make sure that folks are safe and the work gets done as quickly as we possibly can. So with that, I think that concludes the meeting. Have a great evening, everyone, and happy May.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.